Morning, audience. This is a live show which is going to be with one of our distinguished guests, Mr. Supreeth Shetty. He is the pioneer, the founder of Automation of Things Private Limited, which is an IoT based company. And before we move ahead, this particular show and the chat which we are going to do is for all of the people of this new era who believes in the IoT, who believes in the latest technologies, and who believes that today's world is faster than what we were doing earlier with the help of technologies. And Mr. Supreet is one of those guys who have been ventured into this particular concept long back. He was a super excited when he started his journey, leaving his entire job. So we'll be talking about his entire journey of being an entrepreneur, right from doing somewhere a kind of a job. So let's welcome with a huge round of applause to Mr. Supreet Shetty. And I
Hi.
welcome Supreet. How are you doing?
Good, good, good. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for having me here. It's a pleasure talking to you. Happy to share my experience. Happy to share some tidbits of my life. Let's
Thank
see
you
how it
so
goes.
much. We are going to learn a lot of things from you because, see, being an entrepreneur is not an easy task. And with a new technology altogether, which is not yet been accepted as of now in a country like India, I'll tell you. So, there are so many things where I'm going to ask you. It's going to be just a friendly talk. But, for the audience, it's going to be a lot of knowledge because I know you come from a very rich technical background, working with companies like IBM and, developing different codes. So let's start with a simple introduction of yours. Let's know about you, about yourself as an individual.
Hi. Yes, you said a lot about me already, but a little bit more. Yes, I come from a technical background. I did my electronics and communications engineering from Mangalore University, and I got placed into Tata Consultancy Services, which allowed me to go to the United States. Opened my eyes to a lot of things. I was always interested in technology, engineering, etc. And once I got my opportunity, I actually quit the job and I went to United States, and I was part of the dot-com revolution.
Mhm.
Learned a lot of software from some of the brightest minds in the industry, and I ended up in IBM, in software labs, in product development, where I used to write a lot of code for a certain network management software. Post which, I thought, it's about time I tried to do something. There were some unfulfilled dreams, so I quit IBM. I quit United States, came back to India, wanted to start my own, and then I thought, okay, I'm not ready yet. So I joined
Mhm.
IBM back again,
Okay.
not in a development framework, but from a services organization. But I still was a leader in technology competency in IBM.
Mhm.
And after about 5, 6 years, I thought, okay, let me give it another shot at entrepreneurship. And here I am, 5, 6 years down the line, trying to develop my own product, develop my own company, and make a mark, and hopefully help the masses in India, which is my primary motive for letting go of my green card and coming back to India.
Mhm. So a lot of things I'm going to ask you. Just be patient, and because see, it's about knowing the entire journey of an individual, a guy who is entirely into coding. Then he comes, lives his job, and there's so many things going in your mind. So my first question to you is, what was going in your mind before you left a high-paying job and then you started your own venture with IoT?
Okay, so let me make a small clarification here. I didn't venture into IoT per se. So in
Okay.
IBM, I actually looked after the technical competency for the entire Smarter Planet Center of Excellence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Smarter Planet, in reality, is a solution provider, but
Okay.
it pretty much is another version of IoT. What
Okay.
IoT? What is IoT? IoT is nothing but interconnected devices.
Mm-hmm.
Smarter Planet, we used to develop solutions with interconnected devices, and we used to have an orchestration engine in between, which used to make sense of the data that would come from the field,
Okay.
and we would put a rule engine and make actionable sense out of the data that comes in, and probably give the output to a field workforce or some software which does certain things to some devices to make an actionable change. So to make life simple out here, let me give an example. So
Yeah.
let's talk about an automated garbage disposal, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Automated garbage disposal, you put a sensor and you know how much the garbage gets filled up. The minute
Mm-hmm.
the sensor sends a message, we can do actionable items like sending a garbage truck to actually clean up that thing. If you didn't, then you don't have to send a garbage truck. So it becomes much more what we call smart, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So IoT is nothing but smart solutions, and
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot in my journey in IBM. So IoT just became a translation of what I wanted to do based on what I learned and what I could do in that same ecosystem. What was the one thing that was going on in my mind? Well, um, I would say that recognition nor growth nor salary was the issue.
Okay.
I was pretty content. But I was still not content about something. It was like a void inside me.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt I could do a lot more,
Okay.
and I wanted to do a lot more, and that was one of my main reasons. And then, of course, being in IoT, being in Smarter Planet, I
Yeah.
found a very distinct space where I could make a difference. So I thought, let me just start off something else on my own and fill this particular bit of solution.
Sure, sure, sure. But this isn't it is a big risk? Reason being, you have a family, you have, all those liabilities in this age, and all of a sudden you leave a high-paying job, you quit, and you get into this. So my next question is, what made you take that risk of being, an entrepreneur? That's a
So,
$1 million question, I would say, because a lot of people just think of becoming an entrepreneur. The moment they see the risk involved, they leave behind and then they continue doing their jobs. So when you have taken this step, what was that thing which inspired you to take that big risk?
so, Um, to be honest, Alok, this is not the first time, right?
Okay.
So as I said in my introduction, I left United States and I gave up my green card to come back to India and do something.
Mm-hmm.
That was my primary motivation.
Okay.
The second part is you always are in a comfort zone when you get in your salary, which is okay.
Yeah.
The second thing is you are always in a comfort zone knowing what you know. So tomorrow you are confident in your abilities of doing certain things. So it's not that the failure or the risks that basically lets you not do it, but it's your confidence of your knowledge of doing something that makes you do it, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I was very confident in my own abilities. So I was
Yeah.
never afraid that I will not be successful or I will not make any money. That was never the case.
Mm-hmm.
The point was to do something which was exciting, important, and make a difference, let's say, in India's world, right? I always wanted to do something for India. In my own experience, when I was in the United States, one of the primary questions everybody used to ask me was, there are so many software engineers coming from India to United States.
Yeah.
What about the software solution and the solution providers in India? Why isn't it that great, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is true. So for me, coming to India and utilizing some of the things that I learned and putting a solution that, let's say, Indians themselves, get benefited out of it, it actually made a big thing. So um, and then, of course, coming starting off something doesn't mean that it's just taking a risk. It obviously has to have some sort of an underlying thought process behind it. So I
Yeah.
cannot just say, oh no, I don't want to do this, I'll leave it and I'll do something. What is that something? That
Yeah.
something, luckily, I got as a direction while I was in Smarter Planet Center of Excellence, right? I
Mm-hmm.
found out that there is a certain void in a solution space which I was comfortable in, right? If I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
go and do something, I cannot do something that I don't know. Here, I know something. So I
Yeah.
thought, let me do something, the thing that I know, and let me get better at it. And yes, it was a huge risk. Money was important. And my risk was compounded because I just became a dad at that time. I
Okay.
quit. I
Okay.
quit when my kids were 5 months old. So it
Mm-hmm.
is even bigger risk. So
Yeah.
generally
Yeah.
people take a risk when they're not married, when they're single, and there's
True.
no rent and no EMIs to be paid, and you can
Mm-hmm.
go sleep in a one-bedroom apartment shared with three people, and you're okay. but
Yeah.
not when you're having a family and when you're having a kid, right? So it was a
True.
big
True.
risk, but it was never about the risk. It was completely about my confidence in my abilities and things that
Mhm.
we can do, and then the difference that we can make with the solutions.
Got it. So you already answered my third question, which was what was the inspiration? You told me that inspiration was like, being in US, having a green card, and then you wanted to have, fill those voids which you found in the technology area, right? Which you are an expert of. Correct?
Right, but then the inspiration from that standpoint, as a solution perspective itself,
Yeah.
was what I call as say when let's say that let me get into specifics. So I was in Smarter Planet. It was an offshoot of IoT. So let's say
Hmm.
we'll do something in IoT itself. So
Yeah.
IoT itself is what I'm going to do. But the thing
Hmm.
is, in IBM, when I used to run a team, we used to always have these reports saying X number of smart devices will get sold,
Okay.
and this is the amount of revenue that's going to come in. And the next year we go and see that number of devices were not sold, and that much
Hmm.
amount of automation didn't happen. But the first
Okay.
question that comes up is why, right?
Right.
Why is it that people are not accepting it? Now, if we know what is that why, then that's a definite opening in a solution space that we can fill, right?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
for me, that word is proliferation. That proliferation of IoT and smart homes in India didn't happen. So do I
Hmm.
know why? So I put down the questions as to what is that why, and I thought, let me start off a company, and then we answer each of these why questions, and let me build a solution towards it.
True. Very right. So I understand, finding out the why and doing a solution around it definitely is a big business potential as well. So you thought of and you started doing it. That's really great. So let me tell you, how could you, how were the initial days of your business? Because as you said, even when today, when I talk about IoT products across the country, as of now, I don't think people have readily accepted. Although people are using in bits and pieces and they don't know exactly what IoT is. But let's say, for example, Alexa, they assume it to be one of those IoT products, or even different, household products, maybe ACs or ceiling fans. They are all being, operated through mobile apps, and people assume that these are the hardcore IoT products, which I don't think so. So technically, I wanted to ask you, like, how were the initial challenges when you ventured into this business?
Right. So being in an enterprise, one thing that happens is you get orders for somebody. When I say orders, there's a executive team which makes a decision saying that yes, we're going to put so much R&D dollars in this space,
Yeah.
and we're going to have a few people work on it. How are we going to do from a solutioning standpoint? Yes, you have your inputs, and you have your freedom to do certain things, but
Hmm.
the general decision of how the company should operate was being, the strings were pulled at a very high level, right? And the money that was available for that part of it based on the decision that they took. So when I quit and when we started the company, the first thing that we felt was liberated, free, right? So we were
Yeah.
like, okay, clarity in thought. Now I can do whatever. Now it's an open world. There's nobody to say, don't do this or don't do that. This is where
Right.
you get your money from, right?
Correct.
So it was exciting, but then at the same time, it was uncertainty. It was an uncertainty of sorts, right?
Mm.
We didn't know what will happen. Yes, the idea was there. Yes, the confidence was there. Yes, the technical competency was there. But is that enough? Maybe, maybe not. A lot of other factors come into play. So the thing with startup is that a lot of people have ideas.
Yeah.
Execution becomes the first part.
True.
Sales is second, right? If you don't execute, then what are you going to sell, right?
True.
So this execution becomes a very, very important part. So for me, that execution was very important, and we spent a lot of time. I had a couple of people who used to come to the office, and we used to sleep in the office. We used to develop the code. We used to brainstorm, just the usual startup mentality where you work 20 hours out of 24 hours.
Yeah.
In fact, the very first bit of code I actually wrote after my kids were born. I told my wife, I'm going to lock myself in this room for 48 hours, so don't
Oh.
disturb me. So about 48, 50 hours, I slept probably like 4 or 5 hours, and I worked about like probably about 40 hours in that thing. And when
Mhm.
I came out, I put a my laptop in front of my wife's thing and said I had four screens, all black and white, green, blue, and messages going all over. And I said, this works. And my
Yeah.
wife is looking at me and says, okay, so, but the thing is that it was fantastic, things working, right? But the
Yeah.
other part of it was that I didn't have to worry about too many other things, primarily from a finance standpoint, because I was in the United States, because I was in a well-paying job. I had saved some money for a rainy day, so
Right.
immediate finance was not a concern.
Right.
Team building was, you had to basically try to get other people buy into your idea.
Mm-hmm.
Getting somebody on a salary was easy, but getting somebody to believe in your idea and putting
Yeah.
extra effort and being a part of it was difficult, right?
True. True. True.
And then from a sales standpoint, in the beginning, it was non-existent, because our company had a bit of hardware um, component to it,
Mm-hmm.
and we had to depend on an external agency. See, the thing is that I come from a software background. I don't come
Yeah.
from a hardware background. So
Yeah.
there was a bit of a gap in our knowledge as well, because we didn't know the entire ecosystem. Yes, I knew about app development, I knew about the backend database, all
Yeah.
kinds of things. But the hardware part I didn't know. So we had to give it out to somebody else. Then there was that uncertainty whether those guys could execute as much as fast and in the mode that we wanted it as well. So a
Right.
lot of uncertainty, lot of sleepless nights, but at the end of the day, I guess it is what startups are all about, and I guess you'll get the same similar kind of answer from most of the startup founders at least from the initial days.
Yeah, yeah, rightly said. See, believing in you, see, getting on a salary is not a difficult task, but believing in you, your concept, and the thought process, that becomes not difficult. And unless and until a team doesn't believe in you, then that doesn't, that kind of a effort doesn't, appear in the real working. So that's
Correct. So I,
definitely.
I was lucky. I was lucky out there. So in IBM as well, as I said, I never had a issue with the growth,
Yeah,
recognition, and from a recognition standpoint, obviously, a recognition comes with respect to how can you execute your knowledge, and how do you manage the teams and everything, right?
sure.
So I did
Yeah.
have a certain kind of reputation, where sometimes people used to get books to my meetings,
Mm-hmm.
because I needed them to be very thorough. So in that sense, there were people who believed in my technical competency, believed in the way I used to work,
Yeah.
and they were part of my company as well. So I didn't tell it earlier, but our company initially was started off by me, who was from IBM, and there's another guy named Ram Rajgopalan, who
Yeah.
used to be the analytics competency leader in IBM, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we two guys started off the company thinking that we have an idea and we can take it forward, and obviously, getting people to believe in this and making them work with you and getting the whole thing happen, it's a pretty amazing feeling, to be true.
Very true. And now let's come to the brighter part of it. Definitely, you must have got some success. And as far as I know, you put up your stall here in Electrama, Greater Noida, and you were adjudged one of the top five, one of the best top five, new product development or whatever you say, new. And Vivek Oberoi wanted to buy the concept and something like that. So when it comes to you, what was the feeling when you got your first success?
Right. So for us, the first success realistically was the idea coming to reality. Right.
Yeah,
We had an idea, and as I said, I had a list of, why questions,
yeah,
and we had to tick each one, every one of them. And when we had our solution, and when we managed to tick each of them, we were like, "Wow, okay, this is fantastic. This is brilliant." And we did celebrate. We didn't celebrate. We didn't get any money at that time. We didn't get anybody to look at it, but internally within the company, we saw that this thing is working, and we celebrated. And for us, that was the very first success, right?
yeah.
Of course, the first sale that happened with people, we just had 3D printed plastics, and it was not even looking nice. But then there
Mhm.
were people who were ready to buy it. People actually bought our solution with 3D printed solution, and it is still running. I mean, our 3D printed case switch is still working in somebody's house. So for me, when that happened, that's the next bit of success that happened. And then after that, the proof of concept, when we say that our solution, the why thing, when we can branch out how simple it is and how we can implement it to much more complex situations. And when we went and installed it in a football ground, the owner came and said, okay, do you need a server room? I said no. Do you need a very fast internet connection? I said, no. So what do you need? I said, nothing, just an electrician, and we can just connect it. And he said, how long will it take? Like 2, 3 days? No, about 15 minutes. And he looked at us and was like, okay. So we had developed an app or a web app which actually looked like a football ground, and we
Mm-hmm.
had mapped the towers in there,
Okay.
and we made the changes in the towers. And then within 15 minutes we gave the screen, we gave the phone to the guy, to the owner, and he said operate it. And then he operated it and the lights came on. I was like, wow, 10 minutes. So for us, the proof of concept happening within 10, 15 minutes,
Yeah.
and everybody getting excited about it, now that was a success, right? Yes,
Right.
the rest of the successes, as you rightly said, we got awards in Electrama. We got the Best Upcoming Startup Award. And yes, Vivek Oberoi was also excited. He wanted to invest in us. And a lot of things happened. We managed to get the first little bit of funding. That was a success. We
Right.
got some very good guys coming on board. In fact, there were some people who uh, looked at our solutions and say, "Oh, you have done so much without knowing this bit and that bit." I said, "Yeah, but we learned and we figured it out." So they
Mm.
came on board. So that was a success. So our successes are not like you say, "Oh, we managed to get $1 million funding." Oh, we managed.
Mm-hmm.
No, for us, our successes are the small things, the stepping stone to the greater
Obviously.
thing. So we consider those as successes, and we celebrated them internally in our own way.
Yeah, that's the point. See, every little success is a great success for a startup company, and the success, there is no yardstick to measure the intensity of success. Any little achievement is a success, which, as you rightly said, you celebrated, and that's really good about it. Chalo.
Right.
So let's go to another topic, which is like the market response, because we understand that the product is far more better than the existing products available in the market. But as I said, in the Indian context, how did you feel like the market response in terms of market response?
So as I said earlier, again, I'll come back to that why questions, right?
Yeah.
Now, what were the why questions? Now, the why questions were the questions which the market had to answer. When I
Yeah.
said proliferation, one of the first questions I asked was, why is the solution not going, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And why are people not buying? There has to be certain, breakups, right? Is it that? So the questions were, the installation was hard, the configuration was hard, the security was hard, they didn't know what to buy, and then our usability was hard, and then the sales part of it was hard, post sales part of it was hard. Who
Mhm.
does the installation? How do you generate a workforce of, so we have things like electricians and technicians. Now, the minute you have a technician, it means that you're putting extra dollars or extra money to train them. And
Right.
how do you target second and third tier market? You cannot, because the
Right.
technicians are in the primary market. So if you're going to take all these things and solve this, then the market has to, in that sense, accept it, because we are trying to solve their problems.
Right.
So in that sense, the market was very happy. Now, I'm not going to say that we have captured the market, because we are still in a nascent stage. We
Mhm.
have not gotten the kind of money to go and build devices in a large scale and create a sales ecosystem. That's something that we're working with. But from
Mhm.
a primary standpoint, whoever are there with us, the small amount of hardware that we have done, and the people who have started using them, they are liking it, right?
Yeah.
And they like it because we didn't have to do anything. I mean, you were there in Electrama, and
Yeah.
in our stall, when we installed it, we had to install the switches. And there was a guy from Gurgaon, and he was this local electrician, and he says, "ये क्या है sir? ये तो switch है. ये क्या switch है? ये तो phone से operate कर सकते." And then he said, "ये तो हम नहीं डाल सकते." नहीं नहीं, आप डाल सकते हो. So I said, "Load, phase, and neutral." तो आपको मालूम है ना? हाँ. He put it, and then I operated it. And then when I operated on the phone and the lights came on, I said, "Sir, ये तो हम भी कर सकते हैं अभी." So see the glee in the face of an electrician when he can do things like what a technician can do, and the
Yeah.
solution comes up.
Correct.
That's something that we did for the market. So from a market standpoint, we got good acceptance. We have to go and capture it now.
Yeah. That's
So
it.
in reality, I guess the feedback that we got from quite a lot of people exceeded my expectations. I never thought that I will be doing this, but the thing is, we are not dependent on hardware from, let's say, China, or
Yeah.
software from somebody. In our
Mm-hmm.
company, the hardware is designed internally, although it is from a vendor who is from our ecosystem.
Yeah.
Software is designed by us, developed by us. App design, the thought process, the maintenance management, the entire end-to-end engineering is done by us, right? So we are in complete control of a lot of things, and if something needs to be tweaked and modified from the hardware standpoint, or the software standpoint, or the workflow standpoint, we
Mm-hmm.
are very nimble and we can do it, and we can make sure that that at the end of the day, the customers asks are satisfied.
Right. So you are indigenous, I would say, made in India, made for India, and made for the world. Made in
Made for
India,
the
made
world,
for the world.
made in India, made for the world. Correct.
Made for the world, right? So I wanted to ask you what went wrong. There would be something which went right for you. There would be something, and most of the things which went wrong for you. So what was that? Those things. Some key highlights of something which went wrong, something which went right for you and your business.
So in every startup, I'm pretty sure the founder can write volumes about it or talk volumes about it, right? And the
Yeah.
wrongs normally um, is a lot more, right? Because although you have the freedom, generally you don't have somebody else looking at it say that, hey, that's my area of expertise. Don't do that. You're doing
Yeah.
something wrong. So you end
Yeah.
up doing something wrong, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but from an engineering standpoint, the ideas, execution, proof of concept in different places, um, all went right. Nothing went wrong other than sometimes we had some personnel issues, who used to leave and go, and some code would be left hanging, and we had to figure out how to do part and parcel of the startup ecosystem. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
The other things that went right was that we met some amazing talent. We met some amazing people, and it was just I don't know. I don't think I would have met so many people, and I met you, right? So we met a lot of good people. I wouldn't have done a fraction of what I would have done in my last few years if I was in IBM, no matter what position I reached out there. The
Yeah.
number of people I met, the kind of things that I did. That's some of the things that went right. We managed to sell, we managed to manufacture, we managed to get the things done. So it was all great. What
Correct.
went wrong? Okay. Um,
A long list.
long list. So, yeah, so like every startup, unfortunately, there are good people and bad people, and we had our fair share of run ins with the bad people. In fact, we got cheated upon as well, in different ways, which at the end of the day, the issue was not so much so as getting cheated upon, but it's the amount of time lost because of this thing. So we
Yeah.
spend a lot of effort on certain thing. It takes like 3, 4, 5 months, and then we realize that the person who's working with us has a vested interest, and they're there to dupe you. And for us, getting rid of him was easy, but the time lost was time lost, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of an example is that one of the chartered accountants we used to work very early, they used to
Mm.
look at our solution and they would love it. And they said, you are doing some amazing stuff. And let me go and get some investor for you from my ecosystem. So
Okay.
they went and they got the investor. I had to go and talk to the investor. Investor was blown away, and he
Mm.
made us the statement saying that, let's forget the paperwork. How much money do you need? Can I write a check right now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
In the
Yeah.
in the second meeting. Now the chartered accountants or the auditors or the guys who used to do my accounts were sitting right out there, and they were like, they didn't expect this. They knew that I might be able to get the investment, but then they
Mm.
didn't expect those guys to come and say that I'll write a check right now.
Yeah.
The minute that happened, after that guy left, those guys came and blackmailed me. They said, if you, I said, so in that, I should have probably taken the check, but I told them, sir, I'm very grateful for your thought process, but let's go through the paperwork and then you can send us the check.
Yeah.
And that's how we finished the meeting. After I came back from the meeting, they said that now you got the funding. They came and said, we need 40% of that funding.
Oh.
If you don't get that 40%, we are going to take the investor and walk away. And I said,
Oh.
you know, I have quit my company. I have done all these things. I have done the product. I have managed to convince the investor. Yes, you have gotten the investors, but this is nonsense. I mean, I cannot go and file a case against them, or I probably should have, or I didn't. I don't know, because that was not the point. The point was to basically work and get the things done. But these
Yeah.
things happen. And I said, no. I said, you can take a walk. You are not my auditors from next month. I kicked them out. And they said, we're going to take the investor and walk away. They took the investor and walked away. Now, the thing is that the groundwork that was needed to get to that point was like 4 or 5 months. And we
Mm-hmm.
had the investor meeting and all that stuff. Now, after that, the investor is gone. And I'm sitting in my office and scratching my head and saying that, what just happened? I lost 5 months because of these
Mm-hmm.
guys,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
at that point of time, there are others who were interested. And I'd tell them, slow down. No, we have some guy who's interested. Now, that guy is not there. And the guys who are already waiting, I cannot go back and say that, hey, that thing didn't happen. Come back to me again, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, lot of wrong things that way. There were
Mm-hmm.
people who I hired as consultants, and they came in, and they started doing the work, and they didn't really they once they started doing the work, they went to 2 or 3 projects. I went out, I managed to crack the deals, they got the deals. Now these guys came and told me, okay, we see where this is going. Now all these guys are in our ecosystem. You give me the CEO position and my friend the CFO position, then
Okay.
we'll get you the deals. I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, this is my company. What are you talking about? I understand that you, but the thing is, they saw, for me, the silver lining in all these things is I saw the positive side of it. Yes, I got cheated on. Yes, all these things happened. Yes, I kicked them out. But for me, the positive side is those guys saw the potential in our company to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Now that
That's
for me is a great thing. I said, okay, fine. If these guys don't, somebody else will come back and then we'll work with them.
yeah.
So yes, I have lost time, and those are the bad things. And there's other things, of course. There are people who we train. They get in a startup. I call it, you need to have a jack of all. You need to
Yeah.
have a guy who knows coding. You need to have a guy who can fire up a virtual machine. You need to guy have do an upgrade. You can do a guy do a an app development, some firmware here, that, this, everything. So
True.
when the guys come to us, they are like in one small shell. I can do Java, I can do this. But when
Yeah.
they come and start working, their breadth of knowledge, experiences, and for
Mm-hmm.
me, they become like, okay, I can tell them to do this, this, and this. But one fine day they come and say, oh, I've got 4 times the salary that you are offering from another company. I'm going by, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that happens. Then, of course, the bad thing that happened was, well, I'm a I favor demonetization, whatever happened from converting from a cash economy to a cashless or a digital economy. But
Mm-hmm.
demonetization affected us
Yeah.
very badly. We were about to get funding, and then that stopped because of demonetization. And then, of course, COVID caused us great problems in 2 years because the electronic component prices went up and all those things. So, lots of problems. Lots of places where we try to get investment. Mr. Vivek Oberoi, as you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
unfortunately, he liked our solution too much, but then there were middlemen who were working on behalf of him, and they tried to cut a very, very strong deal to the tune of about 90% of the company that they wanted. I said, not nothing doing.
Right.
Vivek Oberoi or not, I'm not going to give 90%. I have not quit my job and put an idea out here to give you 90% of the company. Sorry. And then of course there are others where for no reasons, for some other reasons, things fell apart. Things didn't. But at the end of the day, it's a journey. It's a learning, and a lot of things. Yes, and then at the end of the day, we did get an award from Mr. Suresh Prabhu, Union Minister of Commerce Industry at that time in 2018 for as one of the best upcoming startup awards in Electrama. So
Mm-hmm.
good things, bad things, sleepless nights,
Yeah.
some good nights, some celebrations. Part of the yeah.
Yes, yes, it's a part of life, good thing, bad things do keep on happening. But being as an individual, let me ask you, like, it has been a definitely a roller coaster ride for you as an individual, as a professional. So, after these many years, now what's your take as a decision? Let's say, I'm asking you that you made a decision of being an entrepreneur, correct? Living from, a high paying job. Now, after these many years, after lots of ups and downs, the cheats, the successes, the failures, everything, how do you feel as of now? like the decision you made long back, and today if you see yourself, how do you feel like after these many years?
Well, uh, from a mistake standpoint and how we are and what we are, where we have come, right? It's about the I always used to tell people that, make mistakes, but learn from it. But sometimes when you make mistakes, the price that you have to pay for the learning is way too much.
Yeah,
So I tell people that you learn from someone else's mistakes. So they pay for it and you learn, right? So in other words, it's a mentor or it's somebody who can guide you from you
yeah,
not making the mistakes, but them telling you not to make it, right?
yeah,
So we made our mistakes and we know how expensive it is.
yeah,
And it caused a lot of problems. So how do I feel? I feel that we should have been a little bit more smarter in trying to probably lean on somebody else's mistakes, but
mm,
maybe we didn't have the rightful support or whatever. But that's
yeah.
one of the things that happened. But in general, do I have regrets? No,
That's
absolutely
the
no.
better. That's the best point.
Ab- Absolutely no. Have I succeeded? No. Will I succeed? I don't know. Will I put my effort? Absolutely yes. Am I tired? And will I? Am I going to give up? Not at the moment, right?
No way.
I
No
still
way.
have some fire left. So we'll fight. We'll fight. We'll fight for another day. So it's like that dialogue, right? Live to die another day.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. So no, but at the end of the day, what I feel is there is a market. We might have not gotten the requisite support. We might have not gone to the level that we wanted till date.
yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, we have a product. We have built it internally. I have a patent, and there is a huge, huge, huge market to capture. So I feel, I wouldn't say good, because obviously good means I would have been in a much more better place. Yes, the last few years have been no money at all. Earlier, I told you that I did have some, but now I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's all exhausted long ago, right? So it's a little bit more difficult situation, but am I still going to give up? Probably try a bit more, give myself a little bit more time. And then till that time, I put some certain deadlines and certain targets. And
Mm-hmm.
if probably doesn't happen, maybe we'll see what happens. But we have something. We have paying customers. We have paid customers who are using the solution, who are very happy with it. We've
Yeah.
got some great reviews. We have got some international engagements
Mm-hmm.
going. There are people from New Zealand and Ivory Coast who are looking forward to a solution.
Yeah.
So good stuff going on as well. So I'm hoping to close some of those things and see where this journey goes.
Definitely said that, the never give up attitude is going to stay with us. And I know you are a person who is very very firm on his belief system, and that is how you have been, taking this journey. Although there had been a lot of, distresses in between, but the ultimate thing is the belief system, which I truly respect. And obviously there is a market, there is a demand. May not be in India, but as you said, Ivory Coast and New Zealand, these countries are really picking up nice, even Kenya and all those things. So I definitely wish you all the best. But before moving, I just want to have a last question with you, like, what's the future of IoT in India, and what's your message for the masses?
So let's just say this way. IoT in India currently, okay, is limited to someone getting a fancy light and then changing the colors of the light on his phone,
Yeah,
or he could see the camera feed
yeah,
on his phone, or he could probably go and do a change a song or a light on the Alexa part of it.
yeah.
But then again, this is limited to a few IT professionals a, or very high-end homes where they get a consultant and they make
Mhm.
a high-end home completely automated with various other solutions. But the general population, not just in India, most of the places, is just confused.
Yeah,
They don't know what device to buy, what brand, how much will it cost,
yeah,
the problems in installing, the post installation issues, how to use it, whether it is simple. Do I need 10 different apps for 10 different devices?
Yeah.
And then, not to mention the second and third tier market, which is just vanilla, which is just
Hmm.
open. There's no automation out there at all.
Correct.
So, smart homes and automations and the entire ecosystem is just opening up, and a long, long way to go. It's just open. It's so again, I know that we are running out of time, but I'm going to tell a story. There's
Yeah. Yeah.
when I left IBM, I was talking to a person who was talking about standards in IoT, and that India should be in the forefront of standards of IoT, and that he's going to go to Norway to pitch the standards, and that India should go pitch this, and so that we can develop the devices in those interfaces, and
Mhm.
etc. etc. I went on a 10-minute lecture of how important it is on IoT, and so after all those things, I asked him one question. Okay, I heard you. How many IoT devices do you have at your home? He said zero. Now, the thing is, what the story says is that there's a lot of people who talk, there's a lot of people who know, a lot of things are happening,
Yeah.
but people are still skeptical. They are not putting the things in the solution, in the market, in their houses. And
Yeah.
again, the why thing comes up, the proliferation question, why thing comes up. And that's
Correct.
exactly what we are trying to solve. And I think we have a solution. We just need to go and market it and make sure that the people understand. And we go and capture the imagination and their solutions, right? So I would say my message for India would be go autofy and live life in the smart lane.
That's a powerful message. Thank you so much, Supreet, for your wonderful conversation, wonderful life journey which you shared with us. Lots of ups and downs as usual, as being a startup company. But the ultimate thing which I liked about you and the entire setup is the never say no attitude, and the message to fill the void with the technological solutions which you have the expertise. And obviously there would be people would be believing in you, even I believe in you, and that's why we are connected together. But I wish I could have done more with the overall thing part. But still the world is open for you, and I know the way you have been taking this thing. I think the success would be there, maybe little bit later. But I firmly believe, because of the belief system, the technology which you are using, because I myself is using in my office, in my home as well, you know it very well. And I truly believe that this system is going to be one of the best solutions of this IoT infra which is currently present in India, even in future as well. So
Thank
all
you.
the best, and
Thank
looking
you.
forward to have more and more success in your life, in your career. And I definitely want to be associated as we are, and we look forward to lot more success and a happy life always ahead.
Thank you, Alok. It was good talking to you. It was happy sharing some small pieces of the journey. Obviously, startup ecosystem is huge. There were a lot more stories. Maybe someday we can sit and have a chat about all those things. Not in this live
Sure.
stream, probably. But again, thank you for having me. Happy to talk and look forward to the association.
Thank you so much, Supreet. Take care. All the
Thank
best.
you.
Bye
Bye bye.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye bye.